A young man named Armin comes to a restaurant with his girlfriend. Unexpectedly, a man joins their table, delighted to see Armin. The man dials his daughter's number and tells her that he has just met her fiancé, who for some reason forgot to mention that he already has a girlfriend. Armin is forced to flee from his would-be relative. Meanwhile, husband notices that their shared stash of savings is missing. Alina explains that she spent the money on a dress and mentions her friend, whose husband gave her a trip to Europe for their anniversary. She then orders Tursun to take out the trash. At the same time, Armin calls Tursun. Tursun pretends in front of his wife that his friend is incredibly jealous of their purchase and asks Alina to cook something for them. However, Alina again brings up her friend's husband, who spends his time meeting friends at a cafe. Frustrated, Tursun goes to take out the trash and finds Armin hiding between the dumpsters. Armin hopes to lay low at Tursun's place, but remembering Alina, Tursun suggests they go to a cafe instead. Friends flag down a taxi driven by a prankster named Tima. After negotiating the price, the trio drives away from the house. On the way, Armin recounts the encounter with the father of one of his girlfriends, who, unlike Armin, was planning something serious. Tursun advises his friend to settle down. He himself is married, has a mortgage for 25 years, and just bought a washing machine. However, he forgot to inform his wife that he had left the house. He calls her, praising the new washing machine, but Alina sarcastically to marry the washing machine and hangs up. Tima chimes in, noting that he has a perfect relationship with his car, which he affectionately calls his swallow. Suddenly, the car gets stuck in traffic. The guys see a pink car on the roadside and a girl trying to figure out why her car won't start. She asks for their help, but they refuse, mocking her driving skills. They continue on their way until they are stopped by a patrol. It turns out that Tima's driver's license has expired. The officer orders the car to be towed to an impound lot. The guys are left without transportation and start hailing another ride. Unexpectedly, the same pink taxi pulls up. The girl admits that she normally doesn't drive men, but she saw they needed help. At this moment, Tursun remembers his wife, and Armin, unable to hold back, admits that everything here is free for them and they can relax and enjoy themselves. Stunned, Armin reaches for his phone and suddenly notices that all his male contacts have disappeared. Tursun causes laughter when he asks to switch the TV to a men's soccer match. The waitress explains that there are only 3 men in the world, and for a soccer game, they need at least 22 players. Remembering Sophia's words, Tursun asks about the men's bathroom. The waitress apologizes, saying they never expected men to visit the bar. The guys rush outside, shocked to realize they are in a world of women. Tima suddenly appears, telling them that even the police officers here are women. Sophia approaches them, confused by their surprise. Didn't they want to be in a world without men? They will spend an entire day in paradise, where there are no annoying friends' husbands, brothers, fathers, or male police officers, and they themselves are now listed in the Red Book. However, they won't be able to photograph or record anything. Those are the rules. No evidence of the women's world. Sophia returns the keys to Tima's car, which turns out to be nearby. In this city, enjoying all the attention. Tima starts planning the kind of fare he can charge here, while Tursun asks to be taken home, despite Armin's protests. Suddenly, they are stopped by a female police officer who treats men quite sternly. She orders Tima to get out of the car, but as he complies, she suddenly kisses him and runs off, apologizing for abusing her position. The trio ends up at a club where they party hard, reveling in the attention. Unexpectedly, a waitress whom Armin had flirted with earlier refuses to get acquainted, which stings his pride. When he insists, she explains that he's too arrogant and self-absorbed, then wishes him a good evening. Tursun cheers up, happy that even in this, women like her exist. The guys continue dancing and drinking until a security guard asks Tima to step outside, saying someone is waiting for him. Surprised, he goes to the door and sees Olga, the police officer. Pretending not to know her, he hides and returns to the others, reporting that the traffic cop has tracked him down. Tursun eagerly supports the idea of leaving the club, desperate to get home. Armin insists they drop off their married friend and continue partying until morning. However, when the waitress brings the bill, it turns out to be huge. The rule of the club is that while the men drink and eat for free, they must pay for the women's orders. Armin suggests they stay until morning, when their 24 hours will expire. But at that moment, they see men all around them. Horrified, the three rush outside where Sophia is waiting. She reveals the main of their visit. Throughout these 24 hours, the men cannot refuse any request from women. Otherwise, they will be trapped forever in a world inhabited only by men. They had one chance to make a mistake, and they already used it. The guys empty their pockets, scraping together just enough cash to pay for their evening at the club. Tima then sees Olga standing by his car. She invites him for a ride around the city, and he cannot refuse. In the morning, they part ways. Meanwhile, Alina offers Tursun any breakfast he wants, saying she's ready to do anything for her lucky husband. She suggests hosting a dinner for him and Armin, knowing it will please her husband, and then calls Armin, inviting him and asking him to bring some spices. Armin reluctantly agrees. However, when he steps outside, an elder asks him to help carry her bag to her apartment. Armin has no choice but to comply. At the same time, Tima hears a radio advertisement inviting people to a fair and switches it off, since the announcer is also a woman. Suddenly, he notices the women around him begin turning into men. With horror, he realizes he must comply with every request. Meanwhile, Armin prepares tea, does laundry, and mops the floors for the elderly woman. Tursun, on the other hand, is enjoying a delicious meal prepared by Alina. He begins coming up with playful tasks, and his wife eagerly brings him slippers, tidies up the apartment, and even pretends to be a puppy. However, when he tries to photograph her, his phone shuts off. Alina takes his dissatisfaction personally and gets upset. Tursun's wife, asking her not to make any requests for the rest of the day. She agrees, but immediately suggests going out somewhere since they rarely leave the house. He has no choice but to agree. At this moment, Armin finishes mopping the floors. Seeing that the old woman has fallen asleep, he sneaks out of the apartment. Hiding in a park, he is called over by a girl, a painter, who asks him to help move her easel. To his surprise, he recognizes her as the unfriendly waitress from the bar. However, she smiles, explaining that she hated her job there, but this is her creative passion. She introduces herself as Diana. Meanwhile, Tima once again runs into Olga on the road. Following his GPS, he drives off, but Olga gives chase, demanding that he stop. Every time he stops, the female GPS urges him to keep driving. The chase continues for a while until Olga finally catches up, orders him to stop, and demands he follow her to the station. Tursun and Alina are relaxing at a cafe. Tursun immediately calculates how much seem to fall for each other. Suddenly, Diana begins to and Armin remembers the spices. Apologizing, he runs off, promising Diana he will find her. At the same time, Olga unexpectedly takes Tima to a hotel. Armin then receives a promotional offer and is forced to go to a beauty salon where he undergoes all the treatments, including waxing. Meanwhile, Tursun takes his wife to a memorable spot in the park where they used to love spending time. He treats her to sausage rolls, just like on their first date. Tima, unable to figure out how to escape from the overly affectionate Olga, hides in a bathroom. He sets a napkin on fire, triggering the fire suppression system and forcing everyone to evacuate the building. Meanwhile, Armin calls Alina to inform her that he bought the spices, but she tells him to come another time. He is happy to have fulfilled her request and hurries back to Diana. Unfortunately, he runs into the elderly woman again, who asks him for a massage. Armin reluctantly complies. At that moment, Diana enters the apartment. She is the grandmother's granddaughter. Together, they leave the apartment, with the grandmother shouting after them not to kiss. Meanwhile, Tima tries to hide from Olga in an elevator. However, during the fire, it locks, and he gets caught again. At Armin's request, Diana paints her own portrait, though she doesn't understand why, since they could just take a photo. Armin cannot tell her the truth and simply says they may not see each other again. Hurt, Diana becomes upset, especially when Armin refuses to kiss her because of the grandmother's request. Sarcastically, she suggests he jump off the roof. Armin stands on the edge and asks her to stop him, but Diana remains silent. Suddenly, a little girl from below screams and begs him not to jump, saying she has already learned her homework, which mentions there are only 3 men in the world. Armin gladly complies and explains to Diana that this is part of the rules of the game. However, she only hears the game, feels insulted, and leaves. Armin takes the unfinished portrait with him. The guys meet up and discuss their day when Sophia arrives. She explains that only those who were in her car can return to their world. Suddenly, Armin hijacks Sophia's taxi and speeds off to find Diana, determined to take her instead of Sophia. The problem is, he doesn't know where she lives. They arrive at the grandmother's house, and she leads them to Diana's place. However, Diana refuses to open the door. The grandmother shouts up to her window, praising, but Diana insists that it was all just a game. Armin pleads for her to believe him, but she refuses to leave. The guys return to Sophia, who refuses to take and plans to leave alone. Armin apologizes, explaining his reasons, even offering to stay in this forever. Sophia remains unmoved. Only when the guys fully repent does she agree to take them back. The taxi drives through the city, and at some point, they return to the normal world. The guys thank Sophia, but she pretends not to understand what they're talking about. Just then, they respond to a request from another female taxi driver, asking them to help her. Tursun buys flowers for his wife and heads home, while Tima